Welcome back to another Monster Hunter Rise tutorial. Today we're going to be talking about the sword and shield. They did make this weapon a lot of fun in Sunbreak as opposed to Iceborne, where it is only perfect rush spamming. But this is a very good weapon to use. You have a lot of options on how to build it. It does do a lot of raw damage, elemental, and status building, as well as make a good support weapon. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Don't be fooled by the size of this weapon. It is actually a very hard-hitting weapon. Despite its speed, it is still doing a lot of damage. It's also a very versatile weapon that you can play in a lot of different styles. You can play it as a support weapon, you can play it as a damage dealing, as an elemental or status applying weapon. Let's go ahead and talk about the combos. The Y combo is going to be the exact same as it's always been. I don't think they have ever changed this animation in all of the games. Let's go ahead and look at the B attacks. The only thing that's different is the spinning rising slash, and that is not a new move, they just reanimated it. And then our YB attack is going to be our advancing, and then we can round slash and keep going there. Originally, our round slash was the third B attack, but instead it is now the spinning rising slash. From advanced slash, we can hit YB again and hit round slash, or we can go into either our B or Y attacks to do those combos from there. If we use a directional input with our B attacks instead of doing a standstill, we will then do shield attacks. These are going to be shield bashes, and as you can see, they're going to hit only with the shield. That means we are not going to lose any sharpness with these attacks. They are also going to be doing stun damage. So if you go ahead and notice the yellow, almost electrical star looking thing that happened when we hit the monster in the head, that's going to let you know you are doing status attacks, and after enough hits we are going to actually knock it out. It's going to look like that. It's going to be some yellow flashes around the head, and that's going to let you know that it is knocked out. Usually the monster will be knocked over, but it just depends on the monster's skeleton type. So again, moving, shield attacks, and standing still will be your sword. Let's go ahead and talk about the backstep. So the backstep has a few options. You have to do any input to get into it, but you're going to hit backwards and B. That's going to perform your backstep, and then you have, again, a few options. You can either let it go and do a scaling slash, which will just vault you off the monster. From there, you can do a jumping slash with Y, or a falling shield bash with B. And that, again, will do some stunning damage. So if we release it too early, we'll just do an advancing slash like that, and we can continue with our normal combos. But we want to hold it until we get the flash, and then we can release from there and do those attacks. Let's go ahead and talk about Perfect Rush. That's going to be the one where we are backstep and then input Y whilst we are charging up. Perfect Rush is the combo I was talking about that makes this a very viable option for doing DPS as well. And that's going to look like this. You're going to backstep, you're going to hit Y, wait for the flashes, and it's going to do a lot of damage. As you can see, as opposed to World, when you did the final attack, you would latch onto the monster and then just jump off of it with a slash. This time we are going to vault off the monster and have the option of our falling slash or our shield bash, and that's going to look like this. Again, shield bash does hit twice. Just be sure to maximize the amount of damage you're doing. You do wait for that red flash before attacking. It's going to significantly increase your damage there. The only other thing to talk about for basic moves is the shield. It is not the heaviest shield, so it's not going to block all the attacks as well as maybe a lance shield, but you do have a shield and it is pretty easy to use. Something else we do need to point out about this is that whilst we are guarding, we can use items. This is any item. We can use potions, we can use powders, we can use bombs, tranks, all of this while our weapon is out. So being able to use everything while our weapon is out is what makes us a good option for a support build, because whilst your weapon is out, you're going to want to be doing damage, but then you see a teammate's health go down and you can just back off and don't even have to worry about putting your weapon away, and in a moment's notice you can just heal them immediately. Alright, so let's go ahead and look at the sliding slash. This is going to replace our advancing slash, and it's actually going to add some aerial attacks. The drill slash is going to take away 2 of the attacks from our hard basher combo, and it's going to have more potential with elemental and status weapons. And the twin blade combo again is going to replace our Y attacks, and it is also going to be very good with high element and status weapons. So let's go ahead and look at those. So the first thing to note, of course, the sliding slash is our opening attack as well as our Y and B attack. The first hit of this is going to vault us, but the second hit will not. So if I miss, okay, just kidding. So if I miss and then hit the second one, we will not vault. If we hit that first one, that will look like this. And from there, we have our jumping slash as well as our falling bash, which again can do stun damage. So with our now B attacks, the moving B attacks instead of the standing still ones are going to now do a drill attack. As you can see, there was still one stun damage attack with our shield, but the other is a 2 attack with multiple hits. So that is why it's going to be very good with elements and status. Now the last thing we need to look at is the twin blade combo. This is again a pretty fast hitting one, and this is good to chain it between a few different things, so you can use it as just a basic way to get a lot of quick hits. The good thing about twin blade combo that lets you get in some good hits is that you can evade at any point, whereas the thrust and drill slash do take a little bit longer as an animation to pull off. They do a lot more hits than the initial attacks, so it is very good for status and element, of course. And ideally, I'm just going to explain that really quick. Ideally, the more and the quicker you're hitting the monster, even if it's not all in one hit, so like even piercing things, just like that drill attack, those are going to build our status and things a lot quicker because it's not 100% tied to the amount of damage you're doing. It's tied to the amount of status damage you are doing. If I'm doing 25 poison per hit, and the threshold is 100, I need to obviously get 4 hits in to proc poison. But the thing with building status, it doesn't proc on every hit, so I might have to hit 8 times just to get it up to the 100 threshold. Usually the faster you're hitting and or the more status you have, the easier it'll be to build status and do some more elemental damage. Other than that, let's go ahead and talk about the silk bind. So windmill and falling shadow are going to be our first ones. Windmill is just going to be one that we are going to spin it around us, and it's going to negate any damage while the weapon is spinning. It does do some damage, but it's really not a lot, so this is a good counter. And then we have our falling shadow, which is kind of another vaulting attack. So let's go ahead and look at the windmill really quick. So we're just going to hit that, and it's going to spin around, and as you can see, we would have just gotten hit and knocked back by that, but we did not. So it does do some nice quick damage, but it also negates any incoming attacks, so be sure to use that when you are going to be hit. The falling shadow, on the other hand, is going to be another vaulting one, and we can either jump slash, falling bash, or with this silk bind we actually have the chance to plunge thrust. So that is going to be our YB attack in the air. That's about the only thing that this brings to it that the sliding slash doesn't. This will give us the extra plunging, and it will scale us a lot higher. Now let's go ahead and look at the Metsu and the Shield Bash. So Shield Bash is going to be the level 5 one that's going to be our Y attack. So that is simply going to pull us forward with our shield raised. It will do some stunning damage, and we can also move through attacks with it if we, if I can actually time it right. Just like that. So it depends on when you hit it. You can keep moving forward, but sometimes it will actually block the attack. It just depends on where along the shield bash you are at. So be sure to play with that one. Use it as a counter to move through attacks, and it will either block or keep moving, and you can do a bunch of attacks from there. The other one we're going to need to talk about is Metsu. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the second word. That one is going to knock us into the air, and then we can do a falling bash. As you can see, this one is a counter, and it is one of the most popular to use on the sword and shield. Everybody loves this one. It is a good counter, and it will increase the attack that you do if you time it right. If you hear that little ping, you did time it right. You can continue with either a plunging thrust or a shield bash. It will just launch you into the air, and you can use attacks, but if you do the counter, this will do a lot more damage. Let's talk about the Destroyer Oil. Now, this one has a not really hidden mechanic, but a nice little bonus to it. This is going to give you back some of your sharpness, as well as make the monster flinch a little bit more. So this is a very good attack to use just to power up your sword and shield for overall things. So if you heard that ping right there, that is your sharpness increasing, and it's going to make the monster flinch a little bit more, and that's going to make it easier for you to do a bunch of damage. So that about does it for the sword and shield. This is a very good one to use. And again, you can build it wide range and make it a support set. You can make a crazy elemental set out of it, and you can also make it just a raw DPS set. This is a very, very fun weapon to use. You can do a lot of damage with it despite it looking small. You can block and have a lot of utility with it, so definitely give this one a try. They did make it a lot more fun in Rise, in my opinion. The world was just full of perfect rush spamming, which is fine. It did a lot of damage. It was fun when you could pull them off, but it's nice to have some other moves that are kind of in the spotlight with this weapon. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the skills. Now for skills, again, I don't usually recommend universal skills like the elemental attack and status attack, but these would be very good to run on the sword and shield if you choose to build it like that. So be sure to keep that in mind. The affinity sliding is not going to affect the sliding switch skill. I did test this. It is not proc, so don't use that. Speed eating might be a very good one if you're running a support build. This is only going to apply to you, so if you're running a wide range and you eat a potion, it is going to heal you a lot quicker than it will heal your teammates. Your teammates are going to heal at the normal regeneration speed, unless they have the speed eating skill too. With that said, wide range is going to be a very good one to use with this weapon because you do not have to put your weapon away, so be sure to use this if you're having some trouble with other people. This will just make it so that most of the items you use are going to affect your teammates around you as well. Slugger would be a good one if you are going to use the shield bash combo and the other shield attacks for up to 40% more stun power. The guard, guard up, and the offensive guard are all going to be very good if you want to build this defensively. The guard is going to reduce the impact and the stamina depletion, so health and stamina depletion, as well as the knockback by 50%. This is going to reduce the damage taken by 30, 50, and 80% for unblockable attacks. Guard up in the other games, I'm not sure if they had hidden values like this, like the 30, 50, 80, but they would guard against unblockable attacks, and it was a single point skill. So seeing that they break it down into how much it reduces the damage by is nice, unless of course it means that we don't reduce 100% of the damage that the Iceborne may or may not have reduced. And then of course, offensive guard on perfectly timed guard. This is going to increase our attack by 5, 10, and 15%. So be sure to look into that. And that about does it for the sword and shield guide. So thank you guys for watching and stay tuned for the rest.